Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 38 of Egginburgh, our CS2 launch day build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm just enjoying some vistas around the lakes of Scottsdale, the black clouds glitch in. But welcome back everyone. Today I'd like to start working on a really unique build. We're going to do a bit of a football training campus over in this little corner of the river. Got some nice ideas today. However, this build also opens up the question as well, if this is a training campus, where does the team play? So I guess following this build will be an eventual stadium. So let me know where you think this should go. I'm thinking probably over here, maybe on the waterfront, kind of having views to Inverness and the wider city. Might be a little bit of fun for a stadium. But if you think it would be better elsewhere, do let me know. Bourbon's pretty packed. I don't think we'll have the room for an inner city stadium, but I think over here, as part of a new town development, might be a lot of fun. So let me know. Or we could put it over here too. There is plenty of room out this way. But either way, let's begin work on this. So the terrain's pretty unreally around here, so I want to flatten out a little bit. And let's go for possibly, I guess, how high do we want to be from the river? I think that's probably enough, isn't it? So let's push out to this layer, and then we'll develop an entranceway into this training campus. I'm happy with that. It is always a challenge working with the terrain on Great Highlands. It's so wild and up and down. But we do now have a little bridge here that we can watch trains pass under, which is very exciting, isn't it? There we go. Awesome. Cool. So over here, so there's plenty of inspiration, especially across the UK for this, across Premier League training grounds. As much as I hate to admit it, the Manchester City Etihad campus is definitely worth checking out for inspiration. As is, I suppose, Manchester United's Carrington. But either way, lots of pictures with a big kind of centralized design is really what we're after here. So I want to kind of create, I guess, what you could call a bit of the arrivals office for players or staff, whatever it is. So we'll come down this main road here, and then we'll arrive into the facility. Now, I think a unique building would actually pair really nicely here. Now, we do have the Coders Park that we've unlocked. That is, I think, pretty modern. I think this would look well within a football campus, wouldn't it? It's very orange. Now, of course, via the magic of recolor, I guess we can change this to the team's color, which we'll probably do red, although maybe take a little bit of the intensity out of it. More of a peach, I suppose, isn't it? But I think I'd be on board with it regardless. With that here, yes, we'll worry about services in a second. Let's just get this kind of central space configured. Now, I reckon this would actually do really nicely if we were to double it up and fuse it. So I think we'll leave a little bit of room out the front here for some initial kind of arrivals car parking, if you like. We'll do some custom spaces. Let's save room for that. Then let's pull our Coders Park back onto this road here. And then through the magic of Find It, we can just search for Coder. Not filtered for roads. And then all of a sudden, we can place the building with Anarchy on again. I will mention via doing this, however, that if you are going to start duplicating signature buildings, especially massive industrial ones like we did with our oil refinery, you are going to really hurt your production chain because you're essentially doubling the amount of resources it needs. So there is a downside to doing that if you are at all bothered about ruining your simulation, which this will do, so be careful if you do it. So we'll trim off the hedges with Battle Bulldozer. We will copy the colour palette over there, and then let's spin this one around. This is a fusing made in heaven, isn't it? It really, really is. Now, where do we want to fuse it? Do we want to have it so the roofs join? And then we can almost have this as a little bit of a walkway. Yeah, that's perfect, isn't it? Look at that. Look at that. A bit of a headquarters for the team's training base, right? I think that's going to be really cool. I'm going to be happy with that. So let's sketch out some further roads. Now, it's probably likely that I will use alleyways for a good chunk of this campus. I don't really want the aesthetic of a full width road, if you know what I mean. But we still obviously need road service to allow the buildings to have garbage collection and power and whatnot. So I think we'll push the Coders Park back a little bit. Let's say here. I think that's the configuration I'm going to be happy with. Upgrade these roads around and we'll do lots of grass line in here. I'd actually also love to have like a cool, I guess sort of centralized pathway here. Kind of cuts through the car park and is a bit of a walk up. You know, you can imagine maybe a new sign-in arriving here for match day media, etc. Or to hold up the shirt and whatnot. Cool. Really love that building, by the way. it's a great combination, that, isn't it? Hopefully the second one will fill up with a company. When we play the game, at least it will anyway. So let's give them power and services. I think this should just be a simple highway upgrade, shouldn't it? Because we don't have power lines or lights on this highway, so let's get that sorted. So power, water and sewage are all now available. So let's turn our attention now towards the primary aesthetic of this build, which of course is going to be the football pitches. So we're coming to large sports parks, so we want soccer fields / football fields. So we'll have them around here. Now we're going to use better bulldozer to trim a fair bit of this away. We can get rid of the stands, get rid of these floating bins, and the fencing and the hedging. I think I all want to go. Everything else can stay. I like the little benches here, and the training props are actually very appropriate for the vibe we're trying to create here. So that's not too bad. I'd then like to run some pathways, I think, between them. So let's snap to side of a building. And then we'll run these all the way around. Probably create the pedestrian crossings too. It'd be nice to see some people move around this place, won't it? And then let's go on to our angle, feed that one off over there. And then we can place another one down. So let's have our second one here. Remembering to leave room. And then we can trim all that back as well. It's incredible how much the better bulldozer has become a crutch quality of life mod, hasn't it? And then I want that pitch to be lined up with the edge of the pathway. What we're going to do here is really create like a open football campus, which is so often the vibe you see at these major training facilities. So I think we'll go with that. I quite like that. So let's double up this aesthetic here too. But that's fantastic. That's exactly what I'm after there. We can fill these spaces with props or just leave them open. I wouldn't be averse to maybe a little bit of grass hedging. I think might be quite cool. So we'll have that there. And this course will repeat multiple times across the rest of the campus too. Maybe squeeze some in here. And we'll maybe put one around the back of the kind of main building here as well. We'll kind of see what happens. Let's also finish off these pathways. So as part of this build, I would also like to have some, I guess, supplementary buildings on site that aren't just fields. So looking at CS2's asset pool, I think the schools are kind of most appropriate for, I guess, what you would consider to be maybe a physio's building, or it could be a bit of admin, whatever it wants to be, maybe a rehabilitation for injured players and whatnot. You get the general vibe. So let's create some frames for that. So I think we need both elementary and high school education pretty badly. So I think for this instance, let's do a small elementary school. Now, besides the playground on this, again, which can be trimmed away buy the world of better bulldozer. Doesn't really want kids play equipment here. What we can do is do some of the outdoor gym stuff here, because we do have those props available. So trim that back, and I think once you take that off, this building doesn't really scream school anymore, does it? You could definitely get away with this as a bit of a rehab building, perhaps. Something like that I think might be quite nice. So we'll have that in there. Now we could also throw on the upgrades to this as well, just to increase its footprint, which of course in turn is also going to increase our education, which is pretty paramount. We'll have that there, and then we do have the gymnasium again, which is already so suited, isn't it? So why don't we have this alongside the main pitches as well? We'll have that there. We'll do something pretty similar with the high school. I wouldn't be averse to having the running track part of here as well. Not that this is athletics training, but again, it can be used as part of rehab if they just want to do some sprints without damaging the grass, maybe. So I think that's pretty at home there, isn't it? I actually really like that. And of course, the aesthetic of basketball. We'll do some tennis as well, maybe, for some cardio. Even the smaller football pitches are brilliant, aren't they? Look at that. Absolutely fantastic. I actually wonder if we search for gymnasium via Find It. So we can actually get the gymnasium as a separate ploppable totally away from the school. Which is actually quite interesting, because that's going to lead us to do some pretty interesting things. Let's have another one maybe sat here. I'm pretty sure, because this has just been placed by itself, this one won't contribute to any education value, but I'm happy with that, I think. I think I'll be okay with it. So that's great. Campus is already coming together, isn't it? The aesthetic of repeated fields is a very kind of key take-home point for this build, I think, isn't it? Let's move back to our area roads now and begin to create some more structure. So let's bring a road up this way. And then we'll feed this back into that road there. Now let's focus on the central space. So again, bringing schools back into the equation. I think all the other buildings are a little bit too extravagant for the vibe I'm trying to create. So let's have a look at bringing in the small high school kind of behind the main entrance, if we like. So we'll have, again, another little bit of design, because I would like this to be quite a landscaped facility, I think. And we'll grab that pathway again, and just want to feed you right up between the middle, which we should hopefully see a few people walking up and down that as well, which would be cool. Make the campus feel a little bit more alive. Now, I'm not sure if there's any sports logos. I can't think off the top of my head. I'd have to check Find It. But if we can't, we'll probably end up trimming these signs off. We'll see what we can find in the detail and time-lapse. Of course, we've got this big central design now running through this middle of the park. Let's place down another building. So we'll have the small high school. And then again, I think this one doesn't really need much better bulldozer, because it already looks a bit like a training facility anyway, doesn't it? Quite a nice one as well, actually. And again, we could place two of these and can almost kind of back them up onto each other to create a larger building, a little bit of an organic fusing, if you will. And I think I want another road to hold that. So this asset itself is 67 meters deep. So let's leave another road coming out this way. And that should hold us. Tuck that into the corner, and then again, better bulldozer. Gonna be our friend here, just to trim off some elements that are starting to clash with the fusing. And then let's just find a natural position for it. We might end up just pushing that other road back out to the other side, probably. Well, actually, will you stay connected if we do that? Please do. It'll make my life tremendously easier. It won't, but I reckon we can just pull it a little bit closer and then pull you a little bit further away. Yeah, that keeps everyone happy, and that there, that's what I'm after. This kind of big open courtyard where you can see the pitches, you can see the rehab clinic over there. You know, it's got those landscape gardens because it's a big, expensive football team. And I really like that. We can also have a look. Actually pushes our high school education back into the green finally, which is nice. Now with these, they do have extension wings, again, which will look really at home here, won't they? Have that one there. Yeah, I think that's a pretty natural extension, isn't it? I'll be happy with that. And then, of course, the next upgrade we want to talk about is the running track, which, Again, I'm aware this isn't an athletics centre, but I don't think a running track here. Unfortunately, it does have the American football markings, but there is actual football goals there, which I'm happy with, so that kind of blends into the vibe, doesn't it? But that will allow us to have a bit of a training pitch here too. I think we'll bring a road down the side of these schools as well. And that's already looking really fantastic, isn't it? I'm actually really liking that. And I think a lot of the time you find kind of smaller pictures as well, so I wouldn't mind doing some stuff over here. So if we come in to find it, let's filter out for general football. And it should bring us up some decals. Yes, there we go. I think we can place our own decals here. And create a bit of a custom pitch as well, alongside the ploppable ones. So maybe these are kind of a different texture, if you like, because I know some of the football pitches, when they're made out of kind of plastic grass, or sometimes it's like a clay surface, isn't it? I wonder if any of our surfaces would actually lend ourselves well to that vibe. Nothing that I have subscribed, but I suppose we could use the checkered grass lawn texture, which would help add a little bit of variation in. And then we can stick some goals at the end as well. And we can probably also do some really nice prop detailing around here as well, because a lot of the time, these football grounds, you tend to see kind of the goals just lined up like this, ready to be used for different training sessions, whether or not they're practicing 5-a-side or they need a 4-11-a-side pitch. They can shorten the goals, so you'll often see these left around. We've also got some training kind of holes here too. You really do have to just enjoy the selection of what's available from the vanilla CS pool, don't you? This would absolutely be custom asset stuff on CS1. I really do enjoy the selection of props. Okay, so we can do things like that, which is how we're going to change up the texture of the pitches too, isn't it? That'll just give us a bit of variation from that satellite perspective as well, which I think will be quite important for the build. So that's tied it all together. I am noticing, or did notice, there's a fair amount of ambulance icons across the city. My crematorium availability is still in the green. But there's a med clinic over here that is complaining of low supplies because it has no pharmaceuticals. That is interesting. Is that having a knock-on effect? We should have 117 tons of pharmaceuticals being held in the port. But now I'm over here looking at it, the port is very, very quiet. Which is leading me to believe there's a bug or an issue there. Here comes a truck. Are you going to go in? No, you're going to a building. So, is this port bugged? Because we have the pharmaceuticals, but there's nothing coming out of it. You just come out of there, haven't you? Oh no, you're going to the post-sorting facility there. You're not a harbour truck. I wonder if that's a bug then. As we have pharmaceuticals imported in, but nobody wants to import. The port is very quiet. So these were really busy when we first came in. Here's a mail truck. Let's just see what happens to him. He has 0 tons. Now he's disappeared. Okay. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that there. That clinic is just going to have to remain unstocked. It's the only clinic in the city that's complaining. But it would appear there is an issue. Is the other port the same as well? Is this one quiet? It is, isn't it? Let me know if you guys are experiencing any import-export bugs, because these ports are usually really busy. We've had traffic problems here before because of it, but now all of a sudden, it's pretty quiet, isn't it? And we've still got plenty of storage, and there's lots of materials stored here. There's another 110 tons of pharmaceuticals down this way. So, not sure with that one. Let me know if you're experiencing something similar. We'll have to see if we can fix that at some point. Cool, but I'm happy with this. I think we're almost at a point for a detail in town maps. I don't believe there's any more buildings I want to include here. Speaking of med clinics, I suppose we could include a small clinic as a bit of a, you know, when the players do suffer injuries, they can kind of come out here. So why don't we partner this alongside our current, I guess, rehabilitation area of the training ground. And let's see what we can bring in. Let's get rid of find it. So hospital, of course, is enormous. We don't need that over here. Now, do we want a regular med clinic or the tiny med clinic? I think the tiny med clinic is a little bit more subtle. This feels like it would be kind of too big for a training ground, I think. So I think we'll go with tiny baby clinic. I think this one will be a little bit nicer. So let's push this out over here. Very nice. And then we'll combine this with some more rehab sports, for example. So maybe we can have a lineup of tennis courts over here. Let's do... I think we'll do the same thing again, actually, with the pathways. Just to reinforce that kind of walkable campus vibe, so you can easily pass from rehabilitation to cardio training, you know, however it's organized. So here will be rehab, and players will be able to play a few rounds of tennis, perhaps if they're trying to build up some ankle strength coming back from a bad injury. Might be a lot of fun. Let's get a few of these down. Oh, are they all going to sit and fit? They are, aren't they? Perfect. Now, I'm praying the homeless don't move in, because that would really kill the aesthetic of a build like this, but so far so good, I think. Yeah, we'll have that there. And then we can also place down some of the outdoor gyms as well, if we can spot them. They're along here somewhere, aren't they? Yeah, outdoor gym over here. Now, I'm pretty sure rather than just placing one of these, I'd probably prefer to have two of them. And then we'll kind of fuse them together and then use the same prop palette around the back with those similar textures just to expand it. So we can have a bit of an outdoor gym here for the players where they can work in the wonderful countryside of Egginburgh. They can see the mountains. You can just see the train passing through there as well, can't you? We should see it on the bridge in a second. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Isn't that cool? So, as the commuters heading out of Scottsdale and from further outside connections pass by this way, they will grab a glimpse of Edinburgh's United main training campus, which is very cool, isn't it? There's one of the cargo trains. Do love the sounds of the trains in CS2. I think I am maybe a secret train watcher at heart. The sound of a train on rails is incredibly exciting, isn't it? I think it's indeed. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble. So I think we'll take the rest of the facility into a detailed time lapse. I might also do some work on this road here as well, because it's up and down and all over the place. So start at the networks, bring in a bit of a kind of a private tree line. So it is kind of a little bit secluded and private. Lots of custom parking and some prop work around the facility to really tie it together. And we'll probably get some trees along here as well, just to kind of give a bit of privacy. Otherwise, you know, we'll get rival teams chilling out on the highway watching the training tactics over the course of the day, won't we? So we'll see what we can do with it anyway. But a really fun build in a very unique space that is actually turning into one of my favourites. This is really fun. But let's get some detailing done, and then we'll be right back. So my apologies for interrupting your detailing the time lapse, but we have just come across what appears to be flying homeless. Walking out of the city across the training ground. There is hordes of them. They're all floating. And they're all leaving in droves. From white everywhere. They're just walking across. I think I'll take this as a sign that the homeless bug isn't fixed, because they can now fly. So, get back into some detail. Some dogs there as well. Dogs in the ground. Anyway, back to detailing. let's take a look around the training centre, shall we? So one of the best things I love about this actually is the views from the approach, especially down the country roads to Scottsdale. It really has that training centre complex vibe, doesn't it? Super happy with it. So we're headed down the main road, and lots of tree and grass line in here on the approach. As we come into a nice big centralised design, I spent about 3 years looking for a sports related sign and couldn't find any. So we're going with the Grand Margate training complex right now. There is a better sign, do let me know, but we'll go with that anyway. Parking at the front with those continued path networks, which we are now seeing get a bit of use. Hopefully they'll walk through the middle. You gonna do it? Yeah, there we go. Very nice. That's paid off now with our main building here. I really like how that turned out. A bit of path and hedge design around the sides before we move into our fake, what could be 5-a-side pitch or 11-a-side depending what's needed. With plenty of prop storage knocking about, some scoreboards, a couple of benches, extra nets and props for whatever drills are required around the edge. Then we come into our high school complex, which is, I guess, a really nice kind of centerpiece for the training facility, isn't it? Especially at the foot of the main building there. Really happy with the school integrations. There are still lots of floating homeless knocking about. They just don't know where they're going. I'm assuming they're walking to an outside connection. Very strange. I don't know if the homeless mod is at play here for messing with that, but ignore them if you can. And then the aesthetic of those repeated pitches really came off, didn't it? I really like the layout of the campus. Lots of pathways through here that we put in the episode with supplementary car parks dotted around the site as well. Over here we've doubled up our gymnasiums, which sit very nicely in the corner. Almost function as like a bit of a youth training centre where they can play maybe 3 or 5-a-side on these smaller pitches before going out onto the main turfs across the facility over there. That's a great sightline over there, isn't it? And then through here, more parking with some grass work against our tennis courts, and then an expanded gym palette using those assets next door to the med clinic. And then some further pitches over here as well. There are still some homeless tents knocking around. Thankfully the better bulldozer, it does a pretty good job of getting rid of the barrel fires and tents, though they do keep spawning in, so hopefully that's going to be patched sooner rather than later. And then we swing back around towards the edge of the pitches over here. And then that blends back into our track and field pitch, which has been blended in with the path network around the wider space before joining back up with the high schools over here as well. It's a pretty simple build, but a really nice way, I think, to repurpose some of the sports fields and schools to help meet education demand as well. Because otherwise you end up, just your towns are full of schools otherwise, so I think finding a way to use them a little more creatively like this is always a nice thing to do. But either way, that will do it for today. Thank you so much indeed for watching. Massive shout out to the patrons that support the channel, with a special roll call to Andrew Perez and O'Hague. If you'd like to get involved in that, there are links down to Instant Gaming and Patreon below, should you wish to get a little bit more egg in your diet. Really cute and simple build today, and this will tie nicely into our next build of actually building the stadium for this team to play in. We'll do a custom stadium build. I know they are possible now with all the different assets we have available, so that should be a lot of fun. Let me know where you think that should lie in the city as well. It'll definitely be closer towards the metropolitan area, but we have a really nice and simple training centre here that is occupying a really awkward bit of land on the crook of this river, but super heavily forested. Nice little kind of team training ground pitch. Tons of inspiration on Google over these things if you want to recreate one. Definitely recommend checking out the Yeti campus in Manchester. They've done a really cool job of building it right next to the stadium there. Of course, many other Premier League and Championship teams available for inspiration. Either way, please do enjoy some brief cinematics of today's build, but I'll shut up and leave it there. I just thank you all so much indeed for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.